shocking look inside at some of the violence and some of the ugliness that you'll find at these Trump rallies. We will take a look at that in the spate of a very muddled Trump campaign. Then the former head of the CIA is warning about the dangers of a Trump presidency. I want you to think about that. Michael Morrell, who ran the Central Intelligence Agency, says Trump already hurting national security just by the things he has already said. Also, opening ceremonies for the Olympics just a couple hours away, but it seems like there aren't any great storylines besides things happening off the field. Zika, polluted water, troubled politics, and even safety issues are they overshadowing the actual events. Evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you so much for joining us this Friday night. And we start tonight with a look at the latest polls in the presidential race and what a change in the last week and a half. Wall Street Journal, NBC News poll, it's got Hillary up by 9 points. Fox News, Marist, McClatchy, they've got her up double digits. But Trump, he is still polling well with one group, and I'm talking about whites without college degrees. Now we break all these polls down by different constituencies, but in this one, Trump is leading Hillary by nearly 20 points. And when you look at the rallies, forget about what people write about them. You'll see it for yourself in a second. There appears to be the folks who are making the most noise and, frankly, the most trouble. Check out this clip that the New York Times shot at several Trump rallies over the past year. Now, we've beeped out and blurred out a lot of it, but trust me, I think you'll get the gist.
Political correctness. Build that wall. Yeah, I am. You're making me leave. All right, because I chose to express Islam. Come. Get in here. Take a picture. Islam. God bless Donald Trump. Thank you for not taking the shirt off. Baby. What's your problem with Trump? The Constitution says that religion is a right to tabs on that. Muslim is not a religion, partner. It's an ideology. You don't come and talk about America when you're supporting Muslims. Good luck to you. Obama doesn't need a religion.
Tuesday, go to the polls and vote for Donald Trump. Our president has divided this country so bad. There's a group out there, just throw them the hell out. Get the Get out. Get out. Get out of here. Say it. Build that wall. Build that wall.
I'm sure that paperwork comes in Spanish.
Ignorance and immigrants, they mix together. Woo!
I think you get the drift. Trust me, if you want to, check out the Times site, and you're going to get a whole lot more of that. Some stuff's too ugly that we couldn't put on TV. Let's bring in our panel right now. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Jerry McKinstry's here. Jerry, managing director of the November Team, a Republican-leaning political consulting group run by good friends of the show, both Bill O'Reilly and Jessica Proud, and Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. And by the way, it cuts both ways, I think, what we've seen there. We saw what happened, I think it was in San Jose, where people coming out of a rally, and you have a right to assemble in this country, or being attacked by folks on the outside because the temperature has risen so high and some of the ugly stuff that's come out there. Maybe it's been there, but it's below the surface and he's tapped into it, or maybe he's fomenting it, whatever he's doing. Jerry, it's ugly, and it's uglier than maybe some folks around the metropolitan area imagine, especially when you go out into parts of the country where he's pouring accelerant on a fire.
Indeed. You know, when I saw that New York Times video clip, my first gut reaction was like, I mean, it was chills. It was disgusting. I really couldn't believe that it was that nasty. But I think, to your point, you know, a lot of this has been on the underbelly. You know, you watch some of those scenes, and to me, it strikes me as something right out of Lord of the Flies. It's accepted, so it keeps going and continues. You know, there's a fine line between, you know, free speech, hate speech, ugly speech, you know, and what we're seeing, you know, at some of these rallies is quite disgusting.
And there's another thing, Andrew. There are limits, and I'm not saying this crosses it. You have a right to assembly, as I said, free speech and all the rest. And certainly in political discourse, it doesn't always have to be, the King's speech here. It can get fired up. But you can't cry fire in a crowded theater. And while that isn't that, the messaging of it all. And if somebody disagrees, throw the bums out. I'd love to, throw a good one at him. I'll pay his legal fees if he knocks him out when he's going out the door. The rhetoric that we've heard that, Muslims, about Mexicans and all the rest, pick a constituency, disabled and all that. It kind of makes it okay, I think, when you get 10, 15,000 people here cheering for like a WWE event, that it's okay here to go pick on the little guy.
It's funny, as I was watching the video, I thought a little bit of wrestling too, because he does seem to work the crowd in that particular way. And to be clear, I don't think that Trump is doing anything illegal.
No.
He's certainly not. But he is working the crowd and working them up into a frenzy and trying to sort of snowball that fever pitch that he has going. And so when somebody who's been protesting one of the rallies gets punched in the face as they're being ejected, or when you see confrontations outside like we saw in that video or like we've seen in others, it's coming from somewhere. He is playing this up specifically for his own political advantage and to try to keep his crowd as energized as possible. But, this is not just, for lack of a better term, the unwashed masses at the rallies who all of a sudden get this idea into their head on their own. They're following his lead, and he is leading them towards this kind of
And
reaction.
it gets a little dangerous, Tom. We're going to talk later on in the program. He's doubled down on the idea that it's a rigged election, okay? And I think the idea is, hey, you can say anything you want on reality TV. It's entertainment. This is to be the guy or the woman who's going to get the launch codes, right? I mean, there's a bigger prize here than getting a rose at the end, okay? So to that end, today in New York, you saw the head of the Trump campaign, Carl Palladino, people remember, he's saying Trump is a Muslim, right? Obama is a Muslim. He's saying that tired routine again. And that's a guy who's running his re-election campaign in the state of New York, where he theoretically is based out of. I know, believe me, there's parts of this country where there have been ugly campaigns before. I can't remember a national election, at least in this generation, that's been this ugly.
I agree with you. The only thing that I disagree, gentlemen, I know we don't think this just started, this behavior.
But it pulled the scab off, right?
It definitely pulled the scab off, but I know we're not going to pretend that, all of this type of racism just started with Donald Trump's campaign. Believe me, it's always been there. It may not show its ugly head as much in the Northeast, but it's been there. I don't know how I would react to covering a rally like that. Thank God I haven't been in a position to cover that type of rally. When Trump was on Long Island, I didn't see that type of behavior. Nope. You do get the impression from covering it, and I've covered him in New York City and Long Island, that you're almost at a WWE or WWF event. The announcer comes on and says, please, should anyone protest, do not touch them. This is prior to Trump taking the stage. So in other words, like the main act is about to start. And then sure enough, works it up, and then he walks out. And then right on cue, someone protests, and he's made it part of his show. Almost like a Ralph Crandom. Get him out of here. Don't touch him, but get him out of here. I don't know how I would react to something like that.
But think about
the ugliness.
When we're setting the bar right now, when we're talking, like, he hasn't technically broken the law, and that's where we're going. But does anybody actually think that, given the political and other divisions that we have in this country right now, that what we're seeing on the screen helps? It actually helps our democracy, helps our government, helps our country move forward? I mean, this is a step backward, no matter how you look at it. Because how do you then bring people who are lathered up to this level to the table for an actual discussion about policy decisions and the kind of tough decisions that we have to make as a country?
And to be fair, Jerry, nobody thought in the last year that Trump was going to assume the mantle of the person that's going to bring us together, even though you heard from the clip how much he's blaming Obama for dividing the country. But, okay. But there's a difference between trying to score political points and some of the stuff that's being said, like they're stealing the election from you, they're coming to take your guns, look at these people, fill in the blank, they've taken our country away. They're leaving out there like loaded guns when they're walking out of the place, saying the Muslims, not a real religion here, that they're the enemy. We got to bar them because we don't like the religion from the country. You heard what he said about Mexicans. They're all rapists and everything else. Build the wall. at a certain point, it gets to the irresponsible level. And even if he loses in November, he's going to leave a mark behind here. And unfortunately, the Grand Old Party is going to have to. I don't think it's enough to say, well, he was a passing fancy. He's come here, he's gone tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of people going to answer for supporting him.
No doubt, and two answers, two parts to the answer. I mean, he has not run a campaign of substance. He's told his crowd, he's told his audience sort of what they want to hear. I mean, he's an entertainer, he's a TV person, he's a reality star. He gets them going, he says these things, and he's reactive. He's sort of feeding off the crowd. So that's the first part. I don't think they want substance. I don't think they're going to get it. And I don't think Trump is capable of giving it. On the Republican Party, no doubt, there's going to be some sort of, moment where they have to kind of rebuild the House right now. And it's going to happen, if Trump loses the election, they're going to have to rebuild. I think their worst case scenario perhaps is if he wins the election, which some people would argue that it's possible. But I think the Republicans, there's a great split. You have a lot of Republicans coming out against Donald Trump, and there's others who are just sort of sitting back, being quiet about it.
And I've made the point, Jerry, it's your guess, I'm sorry, Andrew, that I maintain that it's when, not if, political calculations of Paul Ryan and the rest say, why am I still supporting this? Like, there's no upside for me. I get the arguments. I'm representing the whole party. He made a statement today that, hey, or last night I should say, that he was duly elected. He won the majority. He won by the rules here, and he got the delegate count. He is our party's nominee. It's the will of the people. But at a certain point, if somebody keeps smacking you, there's something to be said for standing up,
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, I think, though, we can't ignore about once we get out of sort of the, New York metropolitan area, how popular he is. We talked about it before, as mentioned before, among non-educated or white men without college degrees. I mean, there is a vast population. If you look at the map and you drive an hour.
We remember, after 2012, there was a postmortem by the same RNC chairman that we now, Reince Priebus said, listen, in this postmortem, we can't just be the angry white guy party anymore. We have to broaden our base. We have to get Latinos under the tent. We have to be able to figure out to appeal to more women. We have to figure out here of other emerging populations in this country how we become more appealing. Forget about not reaching into that. I say there's been 5 steps backwards with this guy. How do you repair the damage to the Latinos when your message has been, you're all rapists, we're going to build a wall? Like, you can't just say, oh, that was him.
That's right. It's a long road.
He won the nomination.
And they may actually have to go back to that memo, and what I said, tear down the House and rebuild it. I mean, they may take a few steps back, go back to what they know, and when going forward, have to repair. They need, strong candidates. They need to, come up with platforms and policies, and eventually, Trump might be in the rearview mirror.
We've talked a little bit about the Republican officials who sit on the sidelines and haven't gone one way or another when it comes to Trump. But just go back into those rallies in the video that we just saw. Where are the sensible attendees, the Republicans who are not unhinged, at those rallies?
They didn't show up.
Suggesting maybe that's not the right approach. Maybe you need to calm down a little bit. I mean, I would like to think that if somebody was acting like that towards other people in the upper deck of a Yankee game, that somebody would say, hey, settle down, or go call security or something like that. And the impacts are not dissimilar, whether you're talking about people attending these rallies or the impact on the party altogether. People need to stand up and say, this is not who we need to be. We need to tone this down or change, or it's going to impact us all negatively. We're not seeing that in the rallies. We're not seeing that in the party.
When we come back here, again, none of this stuff is opinion or whatever on my part. You got to hear about Trump as a national threat to security, again here, not by some lefty out in Vermont here. This is from the guy who used to run the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. You gotta hear what Mike Morrell had to say about Trump. It turns out there seems to be a growing course with him. Stay with us.